Hi, I'm Brian Williams, along with the greatest man in radio, Donald S. Cherry. Now, David Grossman is a longtime friend of ours. I know this is on tape, but you're live at Beth Zedek tonight. Don Cherry says, Williams, you are merely introducing this, so I'm going to turn the microphone over.
Velvet tones, though, I have to admit.
I'm going to turn the microphone over to my friend David Grossman and my partner, the great Donald Stewart Cherry.
Well, go ahead, David.
Wonderful to be in.
You new to this business or what?
It's wonderful to be in a studio with two icons. I just didn't know what to say first.
What is an icon?
Somebody that's old and been here a while.
Oh, okay, I was wondering.
Do I get included in that?
No, Go ahead, David.
You and hockey, you can't separate. It's like blood and bones. But tell me a little bit about someone who you shared the defensive line with.
You know, it's funny you said blood and bones. This is what this guy was, Larry Zeidel.
Larry Zeidel.
He was. They call him the Rock, and I met him when I was playing for Hershey in the American Hockey League. I'd been there for 2 years, and he come down from Montreal. Now, first of all, let me say he's a stockbroker, and he's rich, and he's clever, and the whole deal. And off the ice, he was quiet. He talked like that, and he was very sincere. Always wore a nice black suit, black tie, perfect. But when he got on the ice, he was an animal. I tell you, he was the most violent person I think outside of Connie Mad Dog Madigan. I remember one time. I was playing on defense with him. I was his roommate too, great guy, but on the ice. And I was sitting in the penalty box, and he just carved up a guy named Gordy Hannigan. He had no, I don't know what the word is, but he'd carve you up as soon as look at you. He never did anything to anybody that didn't do something to him or his teammates. He never just went out and did it to get the game going. And I remember he carved him up he couldn't believe it. And Gordy wouldn't go on the ice. That's the way it was back in those days. And I remember another time, a guy named Bo Alec. Bo Alec was a guy, kind of a smart aleck a little bit for Cleveland. And he come to the blue line, and now we're playing in Hershey, and he dumped the puck in. He'd say, "Go get it, Larry. Go get it, Larry." And there he'd go back and get it. So I went to one of their players, and I said, "Look, tell Bo not to fool around with this guy. This guy's going to carve him up if he keeps it up." Sure enough, he comes to the red line, dumps it in. "Go get it, Larry." He takes his stick, jams it in his face. Guy goes down, a pool of blood's around. Now all the guys come on, everybody comes on, and they're looking, their team's looking like that. And he skates around. You think somebody would have done something, but they were so terrified of him. He's skating around the outside. He said, "You go chase it, Bo. You go chase it."
There's information in one of your books about you and Zeidel sharing a room, and he gets a new pair of hockey gloves.
You want to hear that one?
Yeah.
This is. He was very intense on everything. Everything he did was so intense. And we didn't get new gloves too often there, but the gloves just had to be right. So he got the gloves and he wore them. So he wore them on the road. We had them on the road, and he's out in the restaurant going like this. So a good friend of mine, Gordy Obi O'Brien, he had to go see the doctor. So Obi's in the doctor's office, and all of a sudden the bottles start jumping all around the place, and he's, "What the hell do you?" Bang, bang. So the doctor and Obi go out, and here's Larry banging the walls. "Got to break these gloves in. Got to break these gloves in." And somebody did a dirty trick on him. Said, "You know, Larry, to break them in, what you should do is put linseed oil on the gloves. And, they'll break in." So he went and did it. Well, if you put oil on the gloves, you can't hold a hockey stick. I'm telling you, I was sorry for that guy when he got him on the ice.
Larry Zeidel's grandparents perished in the Holocaust.
Oh, I didn't know that.
He was also quite a bit of an emotional person, in addition to a fighter and a hockey player. He has a Stanley Cup ring. Tell us, if you can, the episode involving him and Eddie Shack.
Well, that was
developed into a stick-swinging episode.
Well, it was in the papers. I remember they were both cut up pretty good. And what happened, I'll tell you, first of all, how he got into the National Hockey League. Believe this is how clever he was. He was dying in the minors like me and everybody, and he was smart enough. He wrote every owner in the National Hockey League and said, "I'm ready to go. I can play on your team. Just give me a chance." And lo and behold, Philly gave him a chance, and because he kind of was like Philly, And it was here in Toronto. And him and Shaq got into, both of those guys couldn't fight very good. He wasn't a good fighter, but they were stick men, and they carved each other up. You couldn't believe it. And I remember all the Boston Bruins had to go to see Mr. Campbell, but there was a great picture in the paper, both of them standing there with blood running down. So it was he was a violent guy.
One last question. If you saw Larry Zeidel today, what would you say to him?
Oh, hey, him and I were great buddies, hey? And the first thing he'd say, you imagine these guys the way they play now, Grapes? We could play in that league 100 years, couldn't we? And he still believes that to this day. And I could go on stories and stories about him, but he was a gentleman. He was a stockbroker, so you have to be smart. It's just he changed when he went on the ice.
Donald Cherry Larry, a great athlete.
Larry the Rock Zeidel.